Ready? Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen. Sallallahu sallam ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi sallam ajma'een. In the name of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the compassionate, the merciful, we ask that He send peace and blessings upon our noble and our beloved Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa ala alihi wa sahbihi sallam. Alright, so I guess we won't ask questions. I was going to ask questions, but I guess not, since we're a little short on time. We'll just jump into the text, inshallah. Last week, we covered together a few of the necessary attributes for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We covered existence, we covered beginninglessness, and we covered endlessness. And today, inshallah, we hope to cover three more, bi'idhnillahi ta'ala, together. We hope to cover dissimilarity to beings created in time, self-sufficiency, and oneness. And obviously they're opposites as well that are impossible for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So our author, Habib Muhammad, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala have mercy upon him, he says in the text, the subheading is the meaning of dissimilarity to beings created in time and its proof. So this word being created in time, that's just a really not well articulated translation of huduth or hadith. Hadith, which if you were with us a few years ago when we did a text, we used to call contingent. But in reality, the word hadith means a being that at some point did not exist. A being that at some point did not exist. So Habib Muhammad says, the meaning of dissimilarity to beings created in time is negating His Most High similarity to any created being. So what is the meaning? What is a definition? What is a general definition of the attribute dissimilarity to beings created in time? It means negating Allah's similarity to any created being, such that there is no essence like His essence, and no attribute like His attributes, and no actions like His actions. Okay, so that's like a general definition. What would be the opposite of dissimilarity to created beings in time? Well, the opposite would be similarity to beings created in time. Thus, similarity is an impossible attribute for Allah Most High. And a proof of this can be found in the speech of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in part of a verse, لَيْسَ كَمِثْلِهِ شَيْءٍ وَهُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْبَصِيرُ. There is nothing the like of Him. He is the all-hearing, the all-seeing. The all-hearing, the all-seeing. That's what's mentioned by Habib Muhammad. So the full verse is فاطر السماوات والأرض جعل لكم من أنفسكم أزواجا ومن الأنعام أزواجا يذرأكم فيه ليس كمثله شيء وهو السميع البصير. Right? He's the one who created the heavens and the earth. He originated the heavens and the earth. Right? And He provided for you, meaning us, from our own selves, spouses. Right? And then the verse goes on to say, and then there's nothing like the like of Him. He's the all-hearing, the all-seeing. Right? So the beginning of the verse of Laysa kamithli shay, that part of the verse, maybe we shouldn't say the beginning of the verse. The beginning of that part of the verse is saying there's nothing the like of Him, but then it affirms that He has attributes. Right? Because it says there's nothing the like of Him, and He is the all-hearing, the all-seeing. So first it's negating, and then it's what? It's affirming. So this attribute and the two of the attributes we took last week, beginninglessness and endlessness, when they discuss them, they say that they are attributes of negation. And we'll come to that, inshallah, later in the class. Not this class, but later in the sessions. However, when they're defining these attributes, the attributes of negations, they say they're conceptual. They're conceptual. Because what are they doing? They're just negating something else. Okay? Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says about himself, أَفَمَنْ يَخْلُقُ كَمَنْ لَا يَخْلُقُ أَفَلَا تَذَكَّرُونَ. Can he who creates be compared to one who cannot create? Why do you not take heed? And here, the ulama will use these three words that mean likeness. And then they'll negate all three words from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that any of them are possible for Allah. The three words in Arabic are shabih, nadhir, and mathil. Shabih, nadhir, and mathil. What's a shabih? Well, let's start actually. Let's start the other way around. Let's start with the last one, mathil. What's a mathil? He who matches with another in all attributes. It is a 100% clone. It's impossible, but let's just say that exists. It's 100% exactly the same. So Allah has no mathil. Okay? How about nadhir? A nadhir of something is that which matches with another in most of its attributes. Maybe we could say like twins. Identical twins, they might match in most of their attributes, but they're not going to be 100%. Allah has no nadhir. What about a shabih? One who matches with another in even one attribute. Allah has no shabih. Allah has no shabih. Now, what the ulama of Tawhid will often say, brothers and sisters, is they'll say that the world is made up of it's made up of substances, and it's made up of bodies, and it's made up of accidents, and we're not going to go into that. But what they're saying is there's nothing in creation that Allah is like. Because what often happens to people's minds is that they'll say, okay, if they negate that he has a body and they'll negate these things, they'll still think of him, God forbid, like non-Muslims will think of him as like an energy source or something like that, right? Or like the air or something like that, right? No, what we're saying is everything in existence that we know of, all of these concepts, Allah is not like that. In fact, the ulama used to say, anything you can imagine, he's not that. Anything you can imagine, he is not that. So his essence is unlike other essences. His attributes are unlike other attributes, and his actions are unlike other actions. So what do we mean by his essence is not like other essences? Meaning that his essence is neither a substance nor is it a body. Meaning it doesn't take up space. Right? What does it mean that his attributes are not like other attributes? That means no created being has any attribute like that of Allah. Okay, somebody's going to raise their hand and they're going to say Taysir, but we say that, for example, Patrick is a merciful person. And then we say about Allah that he's the merciful. Gotcha. Didn't we say that? And then they'll think that's a proof. No, it's not a proof. The ulama, they say about these types of things, as they do about many other subjects, is they say it's a lafz mushtarak. It's one word that we're using to mean different things. It's the same word, but we don't mean the same thing by it. So when we say Allah is merciful, that's not the same meaning as Patrick is merciful. For example, if you look up the word mercy in the Arab dictionaries, it talks about the heart and like a lightness of the heart. Obviously, we don't mean that for Allah. Right? Obviously, we don't mean that for Allah. How about the actions? Because we said his actions are unlike beings created in time's actions. Well, Allah creates actions out of nothing. As opposed to us, We don't create actions, we just acquire them. We don't create actions, we just acquire them. طيب. We don't have a lot of time, so we got to keep moving. One issue comes up, and then we'll move on to the next attribute. One issue comes up. Okay, Taysir, that's what you say, but then there are verses of Quran that maybe confuse me. For example, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, وَالسَّمَاءَ بَنَيْنَاهَا بِأَيْدٍ. As for the heavens, we built it with hands. And another verse that says, يَوْمَ يُكْشَفُ عَنْ سَاقٍ. The day when the shins will be exposed. Or the saying of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, وَجَاءَ رَبُّكَ. And your Lord came. Right? How can you say Taysir, and how can the ulama say that there's nothing like Allah, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala uses these verses? Well, the ulama call these verses mutashabih. Not clear. Right? And how did I translate it? I translated it using something else, if I can find it. I said, some people just say, well, it's verses that suggest human qualities, right? Did they make up this word? No, it's from the Quran. Allah says in the Quran, هو الذي أنزل عليك الكتاب منه آيات محكمات هن أم الكتاب. It is He who has sent the scripture down to you, Prophet. Some of its verses are definite in meaning. These are the cornerstone of the scripture. And then he says, وَأُخَرْ مُتَشَابِهَاتٍ. And others are ambiguous. And then he goes on to say, فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ زَيْغٌ فَيَتَّبِعُونَ مَا تَشَابَهَ مِنْهُ ابْتِغَاءَ الْفِتْنَةِ وَابْتِغَاءَ تَأْوِيلِهِ. He says, the perverse at heart eagerly pursue the ambiguities in their attempt to make trouble and pin down a specific meaning of their own. And he goes on to say, only God knows the true meaning. Those firmly grounded in knowledge say, we believe in it. It is all from our Lord. Only those with real perception will take heed. Okay, now, so what does that mean for us? What do we do? So how did the ulama deal with texts like the ones that I just mentioned to you? There's two orthodox ways. The first orthodox way is the way of the predecessors. Who are the predecessors? Who are these people that are predecessors? The predecessors are the first 300 years after the Hijrah. Ulama of the upright scholars who inherited from the Messenger of Allah ﷺ for 300 years after the Hijrah. How did they deal with these types of verses? The madhab of the Salaf and some of those who follow them is called Tawhid. Tawhid, which means consigning the meaning to Allah. This means to push away from it any literal meaning that comes to mind without searching for the actual meaning. So when you hear a verse that has some ambiguity, you say, I don't know what it means. Allah knows. But there's another part to it. It's not just that. You consign knowledge to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala while rejecting or pushing away the literal meaning. Okay? So it's twofold. The predecessors pushed away the literal meaning because they know that can't be true. And then they said, we don't know what the real meaning is. That's called tafwid. What about the followers, the khalaf? Because that was the predecessors. How about the ones who came later after the 300 years? The madhab of those who followed and some of the predecessors in this manner is ta'wil, figurative interpretation. And that is to take the texts that suggest human qualities and interpret them differently than their literal meaning that comes to mind, and then clarifying the intended meaning. These two schools in dealing with the texts that suggest human qualities are acceptable for Ahl Sunnah. However, the former is the more cautious path. The former is the more cautious path. So what's an example of figurative interpretation? When Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, and وَالسَّمَاءَ بَنَيْنَاهَا بِأَيْدٍ, and the skies we built them with hands, they say, Na'am. They say that means power. We built it with hands, they say, oh, that means power. And when it says the day when the shins are exposed, or the calves are exposed, they mean that just means the day of fierceness. Right? And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala came, they say, no, that means the matter that Allah had prescribed now has come to be. Right? So you see the differences between the two? Both of them are loud. And the bottom line is we shouldn't be arguing about this stuff. And anybody who makes this like the cornerstone of the religion, بِنَص الْكِتَاب, like in the actual book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, what does it say about people who make this the center of the religion? It's almost like it's speaking about them. فَأَمَّا الَّذِينَ فِي قُلُوبِهِمْ زَيْغٌ فَيَتَّبِعُونَ مَا تَشَابَهَ مِنْهُ ابْتِغَاءَ الْفِتْنَةِ وَابْتِغَاءَ تَأْوِيلِهِ. Right? The perverse at heart eagerly pursue the ambiguities in their attempt to make trouble and to pin down a specific meaning. So I don't know about you all, but it's pretty clear in the Quran what we're supposed to be doing with these types of verses. Okay? May Allah protect all of us, inshallah, and guide us to the right way. The bottom line is, brothers, we have to take the Quran as is, but understand that we cannot know Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. All right, the next attribute that we want to cover together is قِيَامُهُ تَعَالَى بِنَفْسِهِ. Self-subsistence. 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 The author says, Habib Muhammad, the meaning of his self-subsistence and its proof, the meaning of his self-subsistence is negating his need most high for anything to dwell within. For anything to dwell within him, sorry. So what it means is that you're negating the need of Allah for anything to dwell within him, or a place for him to take up, or a specifier to specify him, or an originator to create him. And we'll go through all these. Rather, he is self-sufficient from anything. The opposite of self-sufficiency or self-subsistence is need for another. His need for another is an impossible attribute for him. And the proof of this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Ya ayyuhan nas, antumul fuqara ila Allah, wallahu al-ghaniyyul hamid. People, it is you who stand in need of Allah. It's you are the poor before Allah. And God needs nothing and is worthy of all praise. And another proof from the book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, Wallahu al-ghaniyyu wa antum al-fuqara. He says, God is the source of wealth and you are the needy ones. You are the needy ones. So they use actually two different names for this attribute in Arabic. For those of you who are following along in the Arabic, they use ghina, and then they also use qiyamuhu binafsihi. Qiyamuhu binafsihi. And again, it's conceptual because it's negating something. It's one of the attributes of negation, which we'll cover together in later classes. Right? It's conceptual. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ اللَّهُ الصَّمَدُ لَمْ يَلِدْ وَلَمْ يُولَدْ وَلَمْ يَكُنْ لَهُ كُفُوًا أَحَدٌ. Say he is God the One, God the Eternal. He begot no one, nor was he begotten. No one is comparable to him. So as-Samad, that word as-Samad, there's a lot of back and forth about its meaning. One of the meanings that they say it means is that he doesn't need anything. Right? He's the self-sufficient. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, the verse that all of us recite all of the time, in Ayatul Kursi, Allahu la ilaha illa huwa al-hayyul qayyum, la ta'khudhuhu sinatun wa la nawm. So the wording of the verse is, Allah, there is no deity but him, the living, the eternally self-subsisting, al-qayyum. Right? Al-qayyum. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, ما أريد منهم من رزق وما أريد أن يطعمون. I want no, meaning I do not require, provision from them, nor do I want them to feed me. Nor do I want them to feed me. إِنَّ اللَّهُ هُوَ الرَّزَّاقُ ذُو الْقُوَّةِ الْمَتِينَ. God is the provider, the Lord of power, the ever mighty. Right? He's not in need of anyone. So we profess that he is holier than needing time or space. Those things don't apply to him. Right? They don't apply to him. Not time or space, right? Because what does the author say? The author says, if I can read it to you again, he says, negating his need for anything to dwell within him or a place for him to take up. Okay? Or a specifier to specify him. Okay. So someone will say, well, I thought Allah was up. Well, that's a misunderstanding. Because although the Quran uses terminology like that, it also uses other terminology that negates that. Right? It says Allah is in the heavens and the earth. Would you say that Allah is in the heavens and the earth? No, you wouldn't say that. No one would say that. So even the people who wrongly say that Allah is up, they at the same time are saying what? Well, we don't accept that other verse, Allah is in the heavens and earth, to mean exactly what it means. So then how come they're not willing to accept that Allah is above doesn't mean physically above? How can they claim when something is figurative and when it's not? And I remember talking to our sheikh about this, and I said, well, they'll claim that that's figurative, that he's in the heavens and the earth. He said, the problem is they don't believe that you can take a figurative interpretation. So how can they not claim? How can they do both at the same time? They can't, right? So what the ulama say is, may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless them, is they say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in need of time or space. He's not in need of time or space, brothers, right? So we don't say Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is up. What about when we make dua? When we make dua, don't people raise their hands to the heavens? Okay? Well, there's so many ways to answer this. Number one, when you face the Kaaba, do you think Allah is in the Kaaba? No one thinks Allah is in the Kaaba. Right? So the Imams of Hadith, like Ibn Hajar and Nawawi, say that just like the Qibla for the person praying is the Kaaba, the Qibla for the person making dua is the heavens. Did you get that? The Qibla for the person praying is the Kaaba. The Qibla for the person making dua is the heavens. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in the Kaaba, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is not in the heavens in that physical sense. Okay? Hope this is, you're following along, inshallah. So when you see verses that mean aboveness, or you see verses that mean he's on his throne, how do we deal with them? That's a question I'm asking you. How do we deal with them? Anybody know? I already gave you the answer. How do we deal with them? Either like the Salaf or the Khalaf. What did the Salaf say?
We don't know, God knows.
We don't know, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows, but they also did what?
What the obvious meaning is, we negate that.
The literal meaning we negate. Okay? And then what did the Khalaf do?
Figurative interpretation.
So they would look for a figurative interpretation for these things. Okay? Thank you. Allah reward you. All right, the final one that we're going to cover together today, and it's a longer one, but we'll cover it inshallah together, is God's oneness. God's what? His oneness. Just check something before we do that. Well, I skipped one thing before we got to that, which is his not needing a specifier. Well, that's obvious. Like, he didn't need someone to bring him, God forbid, into existence. Allah always was. And Allah always will be. And you'll get more of that, inshallah, in your next class. So what about oneness? What about oneness? What does the author say about oneness? He says the meaning of oneness, sometimes the shuyukh who speak in English call it unicity. The meaning of oneness, unicity, is negating multiplicity. So he, Most High, is one in his essence, one in his attributes, and one in his actions. The opposite of oneness is multiplicity. Therefore, multiplicity is an impossible attribute for Allah Most High. And the proof of this is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, وَإِلَهُكُمْ إِلَهٌ وَاحِدٌ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا هُوَ الرَّحْمَنُ الرَّحِيمُ. Your God is the one God, there is no God except Him, the Lord of mercy, the giver of mercy. وَقَوْلُهُ تَعَالَى, and his saying, Most High, قُلْ هُوَ اللَّهُ أَحَدٌ. Say Allah is one, or singular. Again, this is a conceptual attribute. It's an attribute of negation. Because what it's really saying is that there isn't multiple of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. It's negating, it's saying he's one in what? You got this, you should commit to memory. He's one in his essence, he's one in his attributes, and he's one in his actions. Therefore, it's negating that there be a plurality, more than one in his essence or attributes. Meaning there's not more than one essence of Allah, and there isn't, for example, two mercies of Allah as opposed to one. Right? Then it's negating that there be a likeness to him in either his essence or his attributes. That anything be like his essence or anything be like his attributes. Finally, it's asserting that there is no cause or effect except through him. He is the only actor and the only agent. He's the only actor and the only agent. So maybe I can read this to you in a different way. Na'am. So let's look at that again. What does it mean that he's one in his essence? Well, it means that his essence is not made up of many different parts. His essence is not made up of many different parts. Nor is there another essence like his. What about the meaning that he's one in his attributes? It means two things. That there aren't multiple attributes of one kind. Meaning like multiple mercies or multiple compassions of Allah. Or multiple powers. And it also means negating that there be anyone else who has an attribute like his. What about oneness in actions? It means to negate the fact that anything is having an effect except him. And nothing is like a partner with him in impact. He is the one and the only. Okay. Got all that. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, Inna kulla shay'in khalaqnahu biqadar. We have created all things in due measure. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, ذَلِكُمُ اللَّهُ رَبُّكُمْ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا هُ خَالِقُ كُلِّ شَيْءٍ فَاعْبُدُوهُ وَهُوَ عَلَى كُلِّ شَيْءٍ وَكِيلٌ. This is God, your Lord. There is no God but him, the creator of all things. So worship him. He is in charge of everything. And then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says elsewhere in the Quran, يَا أَيُّهَا النَّاسِ إِنِّي رَسُولُ اللَّهِ إِلَيْكُمْ جَمِيعًا الَّذِي لَهُ مُلْكُ السَّمَاوَاتِ وَالْأَرْضِ لَا إِلَهَ إِلَّا هُ يُحْيِي وَيُمِيتُ فآمنوا بالله ورسوله النبي الأمي الذي يؤمن بالله وكلماته واتبعوه لعلكم تهتدون. Say, Muhammad, people, I am the messenger of God to you all. From him who has control over the heavens and the earth. There is no God but him. He gives life and death. So believe in God and his messenger, the unlettered prophet, who believes in God and his words, and follow him so that you may find guidance. Also Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, قَالَ أَتَعْبُدُونَ مَا تَنْحِتُونَ وَاللَّهُ خَلَقَكُمْ وَمَا تَعْمَلُونَ. But he said, how can you worship things you carve with your own hands when it is God that created you and all that you do? And elsewhere Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, he says, وَمَا رَمَيْتَ إِذْ رَمَيْتَ وَلَكِنَّ اللَّهَ رَمَى وَلِيُبْلِيَ الْمُؤْمِنِينَ مِنْهُ بَلَاءً حَسَنًا إِنَّ اللَّهَ سَمِيعٌ عَلِيمٌ. It was not you who killed them, but God. And then he says, and when you prophet threw it, it was not your throw, but God's. To do the believers a favor, God is all-seeing and all-knowing. Right? And then he says, so that verse indicates that even our own actions, Allah is creating them. Right? So the Prophet ﷺ threw. And then it said to him, you didn't throw when you threw. So it both negated and it affirmed that he threw. So it's saying, look, you threw. That's what it looked like. You threw, right? But Allah is the one who created that act. Right? As is said in Nass al-Kitab. And then speaking about Sayyidina Ibrahim, if you know the story, it's well known. He was cast into the fire by the enemies of God. Right? And so fire usually burns. That's what people think. Right? That's how it works. So they said, قَالُوا حَرِّقُوهُ وَانْصُرُوا آلِهَتَكُمْ إِن كُنْتُمْ فَاعِلِينَ. They said, burn him and avenge your gods if you're going to do the right thing. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala goes on to say, قُلْنَا يَا نَارُ كُونِي بَرْدًا وَسَلَامًا عَلَى إِبْرَاهِيمَ. But we said, fire, be cool and safe for Abraham. وَأَرَادُوا بِهِ كَيْدًا فَجَعَلْنَاهُمُ الْأَخْسَرِينَ. They planned to harm him, but we made them suffer the greatest loss. So Allah, He creates the fire, He creates the paper, He creates the burning of the fire in the burning of the paper in the fire. So in this case, Abraham's thrown alayhi salam into the fire and he doesn't burn, because Allah does not create the burning of Abraham in the fire, but He creates actually pleasure for Abraham in the fire. Later, Ibrahim alayhi salam will say, I never had as pleasurable of a time in my life as I did in the fire. In fact, when he's being flung in, the hadith says that archangel comes to him and he says, what can I do for you, Ibrahim? He said, from you, nothing. I don't need anything from you. Right? Because Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is there. He's seeing and He's knowing. A few more verses, inshallah, that we'll share with you. This is a wrong translation. It says, فَلْيَأْتُوا بِحَدِيثٍ مِثْلِهِ. Let them produce one like it if what they say is true, meaning other things. Were they created out of nothing? Were they the creators? Did they create the heavens and the earth? No, they did not. They do not have faith. Do they possess your Lord's treasures and have control over them? Do they have a ladder to climb in order to eavesdrop on heaven's secrets? Let their eavesdroppers produce clear proof. God, do they say God has daughters while you have? They say that God has daughters while they have sons. Do you prophet demand a payment? Demand a payment from them? That word, so that's a different section, right? He says, let me just not use it. He says, did they am khuliqu min ghayri shay'in am hum al-khaliqun? Where were they created out of nothing, like on their own, or are they the ones that created? Am khalaqu as-samawati wal ard bal la yuqinun? Did they create the heavens and the earth? No, they are not certain. Am indahum khaza'inu rabbika am humul musaytirun? So it goes on to say, I guess the translation that I got was wrong. I'm just looking for the part that I want to translate myself instead of using that. فَهُمْ يَكْتُبُونَ أَمْ يُرِيدُونَ كَيْدًا فَالَّذِينَ كَفَرُوا أَمْ لَهُ إِلَهٌ غَيْرُ اللَّهِ سُبْحَانَهُ عَمَّا يُشْرِكُونَ. Do they have a Lord other than Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? Transcendent is He beyond what they associate partners with. I guess we can skip it then translate on the spot. يَوْمَ لَا يُغْنِي عَنْهُمْ كَيْدُهُمْ شَيْئًا وَلَا هُمْ يُنصَرُونَ وَإِنَّ الَّذِينَ ظَلَمُوا عَذَابًا دُونَ ذَلِكَ وَلَكِنَّ أَكْثَرَهُمْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ وَاصْبِرْ لِحُكْمِ رَبِّكَ فَإِنَّكَ بِأَعْيُنِنَا وَسَبِّحْ بِحَمْدِ رَبِّكَ. That's good, inshallah. We'll suffice with that then. All right, the last thing that I want to share with you, inshallah, the last thing I want to share with you is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala provides in the Quran a proof of His oneness. A proof of His oneness. And proofs, brothers and sisters in faith, can be of different types. So one type of proof is from the Quran and the Sunnah. And that's basically like saying, prove to me that Allah said that, or that the Prophet said this. Another type of proof is a rational proof, right? Assalamu alaikum, Sayyid. Rational proofs can be of various types. There are some in the Quran that are employed. These are called general or summary proofs. In other words, they're not like a philosophical proof, but it's almost like common sense, right? It's almost like common sense. So here in the Quran, Allah proves His oneness. And this is called Burhan al-Tamanu', the proof of mutual exclusivity. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in the Quran, if there had been in the heavens or earth any gods but Him, both heavens and earth would be in ruins. God, Lord of the throne, is far above the things that they say. لو كان فيهما آلهة إلا الله لفسدتا فسبحان الله رب العرش عما يصفون. And He also says, God has never had a child, nor is there any God besides Him. If there were, each God would have taken his creation aside and tried to overcome the others. May God be exalted above what they describe. ما اتخذ الله من ولد وما كان معه من إله إذن لذهب كل إله بما خلق ولعل بعضهم على بعض سبحان الله عما يصفون. Okay? God has never had a child, nor is there any God besides him. If there were, each God would have taken his creation aside and tried to overcome the others. May God exalted be above what they describe. So, in a very, very simple manner, this makes a lot of sense. If a polytheist were to say, there is God A, and then there is God B, we were to say to them, simply as a proof, we'd ask them a question. If God A wanted to create this microphone, right, and God B said, I don't want to create the microphone, then which God would be able to decide whether the microphone was created or not? Right? So the Quran is saying, God has never had a child, nor have they had beside him. If there were, each God would have taken his creation aside and tried to overcome the other. One would have to try to overcome the other one. So it proves that that's impossible, right? And it's not a philosophical proof. It's a rational proof that's easy to. Assalamu alaikum. Come on in. Assalamu alaikum. Assalamu alaikum. Sheikh Hamza, how are you doing? Allah yakramkum. We're finishing up right now. It's a rational proof that's ijmali. It's ijmali, right? And so the Quran employs some of this rationality and this reasoning, and it makes it easy for us as believers, inshallah, to accept that. Walhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. Wa sallallahu wa sallam ala Sayyidina Muhammadin wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa sallam ajma'een. Jazakumullah khairan. Sheikh Hamza is here, so maybe we'll leave questions, inshallah, till another time. Bi-idhnillahi ta'ala. And you all have a break as well. So let me tell you when that break will end, and then inshallah we'll go from there. You have 20 minutes. You have 20 minutes, inshallah, until the next session. Jazakumullah khairan. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.